We're good.
All right. So this is a normal time that we would actually be meeting up with our podcast peeps. And so we like to open with an opening affirmation. I am a podcaster with purpose. My voice matters. My message moves mountains. I create content that connects, uplifts, and builds community. I show up consistently, not for perfection, but for impact. Every episode I produce pushes me closer to purpose and profit. I'm not just recording, I'm documenting history, culture, and legacy. And I am the voice of now and the blueprint of what's next. I am going to mute everyone so that it does not interfere with the recording. This is because we're going to have it, like Tango said, evergreen content, things that people can watch whenever. All right, so today we're talking about 8 ways to monetize your podcast. You may or may not have heard of some of these, but my question is if you heard of them, why haven't you started doing them? We're talking about it today. Let's dive right in. So, with this presentation, we're speaking about the ways to monetize, not including ad revenue, though that is one of our goals as podcasters. It's a little bit more far reaching, like a long term goal, because you do need to cross a certain threshold before you start to see um, ad revenue that makes a great difference. So, there is a platform called Spreaker that I do like and I would recommend. The moment that you get on Spreaker, you actually can start monetizing depending on what plan you are on. So that's one of those distribution platforms or podcast platforms, if you will, that will send your podcast recordings to other distribution channels. But the moment that you create an account, and depending on which tier you pick, you can actually monetize. But we're not talking a lot about ad revenue. We're talking more about you as an independent podcaster, ways within your own means by doing something today that you can start monetizing from right away. So that is the focus because that's where many of us are. We're not trying to wait for a big deal to make a big difference. We're just trying to do stuff that compounds things that we can do now and start to see results almost immediately. So let's just kind of also set the tone with the truth about podcasting. So there are about 4 million podcasts out there that exist. Only 400,000 are still active. There's various reasons why only 400K out of 4 million podcasts are currently active. A lot of it has to do with my 5 piece framework, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But time management, overwhelm, feeling like your voice or your platform doesn't matter, the oversaturation in the market, having to reprioritize your personal and professional life. But I think it all comes down to these 5 things that we're talking about on the next slide. And just keeping in mind that consistency is the biggest factor. If you're not consistent, you're not going to get results. So when it comes to monetizing your platform, a big part of that is, are you consistently working on this ecosystem to make sure that all things are working together for the greater good? So I like to say from my years of experience, starting as a pandemic podcaster to now a professional podcaster, it all kind of boils down to these 5 things. Somewhere in here is where you lack the consistency or you lack the production, you lack clear um, understanding of your platform and if you're meeting your audience on the platforms and if you are feeling like there's stagnant growth, maybe you need to do more with finding people where they are at across various platforms. Maybe you're not tracking your analytics. So we're talking about plan, production, platform, performance, and promotion. There's a few other P's, but these to me are what makes a podcast successful. And this is what helps with keeping and maintaining a consistent flow of podcasting. Plan, including your clarity before your content. Production, including sound, structure, and flow. Platform, where you live and where you host. Performance, your delivery and your presence. And then promotion is how you meet people where they are at across various platforms. That could be online or in person. These five things determine your growth, right? So if you never thought about planning, or if you feel like you've hit some type of rough spot, maybe you need to revisit your plan. Maybe you need to go back to understand, why are you doing this? If you're speaking to the right audience, if the numbers are aligning. So if your numbers say that you get mostly men listening to your podcast, but you steady talk to women on every episode, then there is misalignment there. Or if your production and sound quality is very um, low budget, and by low budget, I don't mean necessarily the equipment, I just mean the sound quality. If there's static, reverb, and all of those things in your production, that could impact you showing up consistently for your audience. If you are trying to reach people and you're only on one platform, there's misalignment there. You know, you need to meet people where they are at. Sometimes going live for your podcast and then repurposing that content and then sharing it across various platforms right after. There's different things that you could do. I know, like Nikki Saunders, a person that I follow, she will do a live on a Monday, and then like on a Wednesday, she'll do the audio version. And so just learning the different strategies and ways to meet your audience where they are at. And then how long are you, or how often are you going back to track your performance to see how long are people listening? When do they drop off? All of these things help you. And if you're not doing these things and making a habit of these things, showing up consistently is going to be a problem for you. Um, and then another thing I want to preface is, for those people who might be listening to this later and not today in real time, you're wondering, well, do I have to show up on video and feel like that's a part of me showing up consistently? The reality is, audio is still king. Audio only podcasts still work and they convert. People are starving for real connection. Think about how many people are getting off work. They're trying to debrief, offload, unload. They're cooking their dinner for their kids. They just want to unwind. They turn on your podcast, and now there's this intimate setting that they've curated, and you're meeting them in this intimate space. So people are starting for that type of real connection, and you can still be successful as a podcaster doing audio only. Don't feel like, okay, I cannot monetize yet because I'm not ready to be on video. That's not the case. Podcasts fight social media fatigue. So the people who are tired of looking at the same stuff all of the time on social media are looking for something different. So they're tuning into podcasting. Okay. All of that said, let's get into the 8 ways that you can monetize. And I'm going to use ChatGPT here just for the definition of what these things are before we break down each one. So, hey, Chat, can you please explain, as a podcaster, what is digital products? What does that mean in the world of monetization for a podcaster?
Digital products for a podcaster are essentially downloadable or online access items you create and sell. No physical inventory needed. In your world, that might mean selling ebooks, exclusive podcast episodes, templates, courses, or even behind the scenes content. They're gold for monetization because once you make them, you can sell them repeatedly, scaling your income without needing to recreate them every time. It's a way to give your audience extra value while making sure your creative energy pays off.
All right. So that's digital products. So including ebooks, including templates, including guides. So let's talk a little bit about how you create your first digital product. My recommendation, and this is not an extended list, right? This is more so for things that you can do to get started today. And then as you grow, you might decide to use different avenues. But for starters, Linktree, Etsy, um, Google, because you can actually use Google Sheets. Um, and those would be the ones that I recommend. Use your Linktree. You have, I think, Bitly, just anywhere where you can create a link or a digital product right away. and use their system to create many cases like Linktree, they use Stripe. So on Linktree, and I'll show you in just a moment, you can actually create a digital product. Um, and then you can also charge people for that digital product. Ebooks,
Jenny,
probably, go ahead, Tango.
I was going to say you can also Stand Store is where I have purchased products from a lot of creators from. Um, but if you want to do it because you like to do the free and the low budget way, you can use Google Drive to house your stuff. And then, once people pay you for through PayPal or whatever, whether you use, what Venmo or Cash App, then you can just give them the link. But like you said, once you create the product, it's always available and you could do a lot of this stuff automated through NotebookLM.
Exactly. So yeah, just for starters, I do like Stan Store. Thank you for mentioning them. But once you get past like Stan Store, Stripe, PayPal, Cash App, once you get past that, like that's like the starter pack. Then you can move up to things like your own school community, your own Patreon, your own
Kajabi.
Shopify, Kajabi. But this is like something that's easy to start and doesn't require a lot. In many cases, with like Kajabi, Stand Store too, but in many cases, you're having to pay fees to create and have an account with them. So just to bypass that and should get started today, I recommend using PayPal, Cash App, Linktree, when you're just trying to start and get a few sales, right? And then you can use that money to reinvest to create something like a Shopify or your Stand Store. Um, but Notebook LM is another great resource. If you're not familiar, Notebook LM allows for you to import all of your content, and then it will create audio files for you. It will create case studies for you. It will create video files for you. It will create um, almost anything that like ebooks, templates, and guides that you're able to then repurpose. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I understand what a digital product is. I understand where I can create one because there's so many AI tools that are out there. What I don't understand necessarily is what is it about my content that I can repurpose to create an ebook or a template or a guide that would be worth purchasing. So just to kind of expound on that a little bit, when so for instance, all of your podcast episodes, all of your transcripts, all of that stuff, if you feel like it's valuable enough for you to put it out there to create an episode, it's valuable enough for any person to then want that transcribed or want that put together and packaged as an ebook, especially if you're providing a lot of value. So, like with Kizzy, 10 ways to have a healthy dialogue with your children about sex. Or when it comes to Coach Memory, um, the 10 reasons why the Black family is not united or whatever, right? So that goes alongside with your content. And now you're just finding ways to repurpose that content. And so if you haven't invested an audience with a vested interest, um, you're only pitching the ebook and the templates to those people. So these people are already listening to your podcast. They're likely going to be interested in what else you can offer and if you can repackage and remarket in an ebook or a template or a guide. For me, as a person who teaches podcasting, and I saw your hand, for me, as a person who teaches podcasting, my templates might be your first 30 days of a launch campaign or your guide to finding the right podcast platform for you based on your budget, based on features, or a template might be your first lovable deck, right? Or the top 20 things you need on your podcast launch checklist. So, all of those things would be things that I can offer as digital products to help my target audience. Go ahead with your question
My question to you
or
is,
comment.
my question to you is, on Spotify, a written version of my podcast gets automatically created. Can I use that as as a digital product?
I would say so written what? One more time. It sounds like transcripts, but maybe I
Yeah,
misunderstood.
it's a transcript. When it creates my podcast, it also creates a transcript at the same time. Can I use that as a digital product?
All right. So yes, you could use your show notes as a digital product, but what I think is if you put your podcast on YouTube, somebody can easily just get the transcript anyway. So I would feel a little bit dishonest with trying to charge somebody something that they can get for free. But you can take those transcripts and recreate something, like I said, an ebook or templates or guides. So, like, let's go to very quickly my YouTube channel. Um, and I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but yeah, your transcripts are under each one of your episodes. I'm going to try to mute this so it doesn't become a distraction. But I wouldn't necessarily resell my transcripts. I would just copy and paste my transcripts to recreate something else. But under every video, the transcripts are generally created for you if you're already using YouTube. So they're right here. So I would then copy and paste everything from here. And I would do that under all of my videos. I would probably create a Word document so that I have all of it in one place. I would probably also include the title of the episode for context. Um, so I would include the title and then find another transcript, make sure to include the title, and then copy and paste the transcript from the next episode, so on and so forth. So this is crossover is the new currency. Then I'll go find another one, same thing, and make sure I add it all to the same notepad or the same Word document. Um, I'm keep pressing the wrong thing.
Yeah, Danny, I was gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
as you start to collect those for to help Leonard, what he could do is, like you were saying, within Notebook LM, create a file where you take all of those transcripts, put that together. Say you have 10 or 15 episodes, then you let Notebook LM give you a summary of those of the highlights of all of them, and then Notebook LM will either give you the book, or you could actually sell access to the Notebook LM file that's working off of that information because it's specific to just your podcast and your show.
Right. Notebook LM is good. Another one is also Manus. This is where Manus really
Thank
comes
you for
into
that. Thank
play. So the clipping economy. I'm only gonna do these two because to me, Manus makes everything pretty. Um,
No,
but
that's
again,
dope. Thank you.
Notebook LM. I do pay about $20 for Google Pro. I think $20 to $25 a month. So that gives me access to like Gemini and it lets me do things like when I want to create a spreadsheet or when I want to create a Google form, I can use a prompt. If you're not paying anything, then you can't use the cheat codes like that. But I don't know. I've never really asked if that $20 means I get Notebook LM for free or not. So I don't know. Does anybody, Tango, do you use Notebook LM for free?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
you can use Notebook LM for free to compile all the things that you use in your Google Pro.
All right. So I'm going to go to create notebook and I'm going to add my sources and you can upload the file or you can copy the text. I'm going to copy the text. Insert. And then we're not going to go through this whole thing, but as you see, audio overview, slide decks, video overview, a mind map, reports. In the reports, it's expansive. So A report could be a briefing document, a study guide, a blog post, case studies. It just depends. Flashcards, which would be great for someone like Coach Memory or Kizzy, quizzes, infographics, data tables. So you can compile all of these things to create a digital product that might include more than one thing. So it's not just your standard uh, slide deck. You have a slide deck, mind map, and an infographic with a quiz, right? So it could be an extensive thing that you create, but this is how you create digital products in a couple of seconds, right? Another one is Manus. Uh, Manus AI, let me see. Same thing. And I did create a master prompt. And as a matter of fact, I will drop that in the chat now. And then we're going to move on to the next one. But this is for you all to use. It's a master monetization prompt. You're going to upload all of your transcripts, whichever one of those you want to include, the name of your podcast topic, your audience, describe your personality and style, where you're currently featured across which platforms, and skills and experience, and then use this master prompt that will create then an outline for your digital product, an outline for your webinars, an outline for your affiliate and referrals, brand partnerships, membership programs, so on and so forth. Again, you do need to make sure to include some context first. So make sure to do that and do this at your own leisure. Okay, so you have that in the chat. But then also going to Manus, I would use that same prompt that I just shared with you in the chat, along with uploading or attaching the context. Even though I'm not doing all of that right now, I am going to add the transcript, and then it'll come up with everything that you told it to come up with on the prompt. But if you get more, this is more granular. If you get more specific, using it for one thing at a time, that's when you really start to see, like for the ebook, if you tell it what colors you want and everything, it's going to produce that in real time. So that's that. Use Manus or NotebookLM to create a digital product, and then you're going to go to Linktree. And if you guys don't know, a while back we all created an ebook together, and so that's what this is right here. And all a person has to do is download this for free by putting in their information here. Now, again, you can set it up to where you say this needs to be a $7 purchase before they get the download, but it's instantaneous and they will get this download to their emails right away. So all you have to do is go to Linktree, and I'm going to do it as if I'm setting it up for the first time. And we will make sure you all, as we do with every Saturday meetup, make sure you get the steps after the fact. So you guys can go back and do these things on your own terms. So with Linktree, there's a more option down at the very bottom. Can't really see it because this is in the way. Or view all. And then when you click view all with those little three dots at the very bottom on the left side, you go to the second one down, digital products, and you're going to add what you want the title to be, what you want the image to look like, and then add the link and the layout. and then what you want to charge, and then what you want to ask before they receive the digital product. Maybe you want their phone number, maybe you want their email. Definitely want to collect their name and email. And you want to keep that information on hand so that in the event you want to reach back out to them for something else, you have their information. But that's how you can create your first digital product. Use Linktree, use NotebookLM, and use Manus to create your first digital product, whether it be a template, an ebook, a calendar, a planner. And generally speaking, this is going to be like the first thing on your funnel that's very low level, not that expensive. Um, I do see a hand. Go ahead and ask your question or make a comment.
My my question is because I have some I made some digital products in Canva. So do I like send those to Linktree or that's what I was not sure. They're like sitting there and it's been sitting there and like I have like three different products. But
So you download those digital products and you upload them to Linktree, precisely. And then you probably, I don't know if you want to do it separately or as a collective, but you can do both. I think you can add a few files to create one digital product on Linktree, if I'm not mistaken. Or you can do them all separately and determine whether you're going to charge separately for each one or not. But yes, I would download the file and then upload the file to Linktree to create a digital product.
give me like a like you know um my celebration is coming up. I can have like a code where they can scan it there because I'm just gonna have like a few products to let them. I don't want to spend too much money on it. Anybody that wants to have the physical copy, then they
Hmm.
scan that barcode and that'll take them to Linktree to buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you go to Linktree, um, let's see, go back. Because how can you create that QR code? If you're gonna just make sure that they go to Linktree, because at the end of this, I was gonna say you can also compile everything, and then like you both have experience, Kizzy and Coach Memory, you have experience with this. Your website now, everything is gonna be housed on the website. But if you wanted to, like for your event, have your QR code, let's go to that ebook. In many cases, you can now just create a QR code by doing a right click. So, like right here, it says create QR code for this page. Um,
I hope this not taking you off topic. I just wanted what I was
no,
thinking.
no, it's okay. So, they create one for you that goes directly to your profile. So right by your name at the top on Linktree, you see this box or square with the arrow coming out of it. There's your QR code that you're going to use, and it's going to take people to your Linktree. Your Linktree will probably have 10 links or one link, but this is where you get your QR code from. And that's what you're going to use to place on your table. And that's where you're going to tell people to scan to get your link tree and whatever else is under your link tree.
Linktree is free, or you have to pay for that?
Linktree is free, but you also have different features on Linktree where you could also be paying for your account.
Sure, no
But I
problem.
use it for free.
I just want to know the baseline so I know what's going on. Um,
Mhm.
I have a question that's off topic. I'll talk to somebody. I'll quickly throw it. I don't have a problem with the YouTube in my podcast, but I'll explain that to somebody later or at a later date. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, let's pin that. So, number two, webinars. Right now, my recommendation is something very simple, something like this, 8 ways to monetize. And I recommend you do a webinar maybe once a quarter. This is when things are kind of like dwindling down. You're trying to add new people to your community, or you're trying to pitch your services and products to other people. So make a habit of doing your webinar, and maybe it's the same webinar that you do over and over and over, but at least try to do a webinar once a quarter. There are big platforms for hosting a webinar, but just to keep it very simple, you can use Zoom. Now, when you're using Zoom or like StreamYard, you have to pay like $100 to be able to host what is a webinar environment. Or you can just keep it like this on Zoom and set the parameters for like only, 150 people, whatever. You can set the capacity for your webinar. But when it comes to a webinar and paying the additional fees of a webinar, the webinar environment means people are going to see you, you are not going to see them. And that keeps kind of the appeal. And the webinars, I guess, are great that way so that you're not having people interjecting and coming off mic. Of course, I don't mind. This is intentional for this to be more of an engaging type of thing, but webinars are great for putting you in the facilitation seat. You are speaking to your audience. They don't get a chance to jump off mic and interrupt. And, you have more control over that. And then again, if you're going to do it to where you're charging, I recommend using Eventbrite or Luma. That helps you create an event and monetize from that event. If it's going to be free and then you have a call to action like I do later, um, you would say this webinar is free, but at the end you make sure you have your call to action for whatever is next. So some people host webinars and say, all right, well, that webinar is done. Next, in the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes, we have something especially for VIP. And then you have a way for your charging them after the fact. You can go back to your link tree, you can go back to PayPal, you can go back to Cash App. Again, I want you all to graduate at some point so you have something that feels more professional in helping you maintain your books. But just to get started, host yourself a free webinar. Use that master prompt to figure out what your master webinar should be. Try to make a habit of charging for that webinar. If you don't charge for the webinar, at least have a paid offer at the end of the webinar. And this is again how you're monetizing, and use platforms like Eventbrite or Luma to get started.
Danny, I was going to say one of the tricks that I've seen a lot of the producers use is, like you were saying about that upgrade, you can do a webinar where you start off teaching during the webinar to give the basics and then do an additional hour maybe afterwards, as soon as you finish the webinar. But you do that as a pre-sale. So when you do the free webinar, you send it out and go, hey, you guys want to come to the free webinar? You come to the when they click on the link for the free, you offer a maybe $27 to $47 upgrade for the after hours where you can go in depth with each person, and that way you can attach that to the beginning, and it's kind of like they're making two webinars in one. You'll have a free one that'll last 45 minutes. You do another hour where you go in depth with the people who buy the VIP package, and then you could even offer them like, hey, if you want to join the community, this offer will let you stay for a week, a month, or whatever.
Right. So like for this, it was general admission here using Luma, and then for VIP access, using Luma again to create a separate VIP with a separate Zoom link. So everybody doesn't get access to this unless they pay for this, right? So you can use Luma and make sure you have with Luma. They're also connected to Stripe. So this is your payment processing system when you're using Luma. So, and what I love about Luma too is I operate more on like a sliding scale, pay what you can afford. So even for VIP, the second half, you either pay at most minimum, which I think what it's worth, or you can pay at minimum $27. But somewhere in between there, I'm allowing for people to be flexible. And you can change it. Maybe your minimum is $5 and your max is 25 or whatever, but just using Luma because Luma's free. It allows you to monetize, and it allows you to host your event is my recommendation. But like Tango said, the first half was free, the second half is VIP, and that's what you have to pay for. And just understanding that, and then making sure, going back to the page, that you list that. Some people have the first page, general admission, and then you'll have a pop-up that comes up and say, hey, by the way, here's a workbook that goes with the training. That's $27. Or by the way, there's a second half, that's VIP, that's $27. Um, but just various different ways to monetize with webinars. And I do think everybody in this space should have a signature webinar, whether it's about relationships, whether it's about having conversations with your kids, whether it's about reuniting the Black family, whether it's about music producers and how not to get scammed on 360 deals, whether it's about the best recipes. Everybody should have a webinar and put some effort into it, right? But the better and more quality your webinar, you'll continue to learn to get better over time. And I just think that that's another way, easy way to monetize and package your expertise. 3, affiliate links. I'm sure we've all heard about the different various affiliate links. Amazon, easiest one to get started. If you don't sell within the first, I think 180 days, 90 or 180 days, then they will remove you from the program, but you can always reapply. Another great one, I think, for this community is Peerspace. Opus Clips. I know some of us already use Opus Clips, and some of us are already monetizing when people use our referral clicks, or any person that you have that comes on as a guest. You can say, hey, refer people back to this episode. For instance, if you have like a school community, refer people back to this episode that's going to be housed on school or on Patreon. And for every person you bring in, you get a percentage back. Um, that is what an affiliate link looks like. When you're referring people to something, there's a kickback for you, and it's just easy to monetize. Now, what people don't do often is talk about it in every space. And so you don't see the results because you're not mentioning it in your podcast descriptions, or you don't talk about it in the first few seconds of your podcast episodes, or you don't talk about it in the middle. You're not talking about it often enough or reminding people. People have to constantly be reminded what to do and how to support you. Peerspace, Amazon, Opus, just to name a few. There's a ton of other ones. Do your research to find out which ones are best for you. Everything from coffee to equipment. But there's an affiliate link program almost for everything. And I say make sure that it aligns and it makes sense for your audience. But affiliate links are another way for you to monetize. Membership programs. 9 times out of 10, depending on which platforms you're using, there's a space for exclusive content. So, like Red Circle, uh, I could do my podcast absolutely for free, or I can make sure that it's behind a paywall, exclusive content. That's what Patreon is for. That is what School Community is for. You can basically use these platforms to create. Your podcast does not necessarily need to go up on the major distribution channels. You can reserve your content to have more control by putting it up behind a paywall, like on Patreon, and making it entirely exclusive for people who join your Patreon only. Some people want to do podcast platforms for major distribution and make sure other people are getting it and it's getting spread across all of the various channels. You don't necessarily have to do that. If you want to have more control and control the environment and control the money, you can just do a Patreon. I use Patreon or Payhip, Payhip, to build something out. You can use Lovable to make your own kind of course or kind of own atmosphere where people have to pay to get access to your content. Those are just to name a few, but memberships are key. And what I like to say about memberships is try to have various different tiers to meet your audience where they're at. So something very low level for like $9 to $12, something medium, 19 till about $50, and then something premium, 50 to about 150. for the bonus content. Just make sure it's worth people's while and try not to overcharge because many of us are spending our money in other spaces. So just kind of be mindful of that too.
Or a
Substack,
second episode of a
right.
podcast. Mhm.
Right. So like I talk about this often with my homeboy who did 2 hours worth of content and only about a small percentage. Nobody's listening to his 2 hours worth of content. So what can he do? He can do the first 15 minutes on YouTube or on Spotify or on Apple, and then the remaining, he can put that up behind a paywall for people who truly want to listen to the full 2 hours. That's exclusive or bonus content. And putting that up on a PayHib or a Patreon or school community. Or like I said on Red Circle, with Red Circle, you can make it exclusive or you can make it public. It's entirely up to you. But again, be mindful of your tiers and try to make it make sense. And try not to overcharge people to completely turn them away from what you're doing. Be very reasonable and understand people are spending their money in other spaces as well. Events. Tamara was a great example. Her live shows, even though they were free, she could be charging for the seats and access to her events using tools like Luma or Eventbrite um, to help manage the booking. Mixers. I know Kira from White Collar, she's been in here a few times. She's hosting mixers, matching mentors to mentees. I think she should be charging $10 a person, $25 a person if there's food, about $45 to $75 a person to get access to her events. If it's a podcast panel, you don't charge your guests, you charge the people who are coming as the audience member. If it's a workshop, if it's a virtual event, use Luma or Eventbrite to charge. But at least with an event, if you're doing a webinar, maybe once a quarter, maybe you do let's say webinars should be maybe once a month if you're doing this and you're building an ecosystem out, and maybe your events are once a quarter. Um, but you should have a signature event as well. For us, our events happen to be these online Saturday meetups. For others, it might be something like a podcast panel or like a mixer. But you should be doing something that's your signature event and doing that as frequent and often as possible using tools like Luma or Eventbrite. Brand deals, again, doesn't mean a big sponsorship right away. It means going to your local mom and pop stores, going to local restaurants. If you have a girlfriend that does hair, she's a beautician, ask her if she would pay you $45 to promote her services on your podcast. That's what a brand deal looks like starting out. Start small, start local. Go to your local. I know there's a homeboy of mine. He has a signature, he has a cigar and music podcast. Go to your local smoke shop. Ask them if they would pay for ads on your podcast. You don't have to do it the way um, Apple and Spotify do it. You can curate your own ads by asking the person, what would you like the ad to say? You can say it directly, word of mouth, or you can use AI to create a avatar for you, but create something that's really nice and packaged really well that goes inside of the episode or something just in the description to help promote any local brands. Sponsorship, same thing. You're going to approach sponsor. Now, sponsorships might be a bigger ticket, might be about $12.50. If you talk to them about a complete package, we're willing to do an ad for you on every one of our episodes for the next 20 episodes for $1,500 or for $12.50 or whatever. But start small, start with the people that you know, come up with a list of 10 people and try to work those 10 people or 10 businesses for your first few brand deals. Speaking opportunities, there's always a festival, always a workshop, always a conference. Make a habit in your process to reach out to those people maybe once a week when you have some downtime and constantly put yourself out there. You need a speaker reel, highlight reels. You need a nice one pager. Um, that's why I like tools like Marblism, because with Marblism, I pay $40 and there is an AI agent that does all of my leads generation for me. So I can find leads who would hire me as a speaker to sit on their conference, workshop, or panels. Um, if you find someone who does government contracting, there's a way to finagle that. If you have a book, if you've been an author, you can position yourself as the author coming in. If you purchase these 20 books for me, I will come speak at your school. I know there's a few people amongst us who are working on stuff like that. So that's another option. Books and cards. This is where we talk a little bit about like what Kizzy did, repurposing your content to create a card deck. Um, I was just about to go run and go get the card deck, but I won't for the sake of time. But I really like what she created using Canva, repurposing some of the content, not verbatim, but the themes of the conversation she was able to repurpose to create cards, a card deck using Canva, or KDP ebooks on Amazon, or creating a physical hard copy of a book, soft and hard copies on Amazon. Again, things that are very simple and not complicated and things you can do right away. Um, Next one. The money is in the ecosystem. What I want people to understand is these are all drops in the bucket, right? So what we're looking for is various streams of income that are all compounding on one another. It's not that you're going to see a lot of money come through just based on one of these things until you get yourself a nice ecosystem going. But each one of these things, we talked about eight. They say you need about seven different streams of revenue. We just talked about eight different streams, right? And if you get good at doing all of these things, they start to compound. So that little bit of money starts to add up. $150 here, $300 there, $450 here is all adding up and compounding on one another, where you can make bigger investments to do more things. So understand that you building an ecosystem and showing up, going to that word consistency, you doing these things consistently, you're going to start to see results. You're going to start to see things add up when you have different offers to serve different audiences. Then people are going to start with you one way, and then they're going to advance and evolve and grow with you in that relationship that you build. Now people are coming to your webinars. Now people are coming to your events. So that's the whole funnel or customer journey that you're taking each person on.
Let me say something real quick on that. Yeah,
Hmm.
be careful that you don't pair up with somebody that doesn't match you. For example, we have contacts in bakeries, but I won't pair up with bakeries because of the nature of my content, because it won't fit.
That's right. And sometimes you lose audiences because you're trying to do too much. When you pair yourself with the wrong people, people take notice of that and they're like, I no longer want to follow or support you because now I'm completely confused and I don't trust you anymore because you're just linking up clearly for a dollar. I don't know if you saw this, Tango, but Gerald had a question. Um, I think it was yesterday or the day before. He said he was approached
I did. I
by,
saw that.
huh? You saw it. He was approached by a
Yeah, I did. I
company
saw it.
and they were selling $100 YouTube. They were selling a $100 access to YouTube generator. I mean, YouTube thumbnail generator or creator. And he was saying to everyone, is it worth it for me to align myself with this company charging 100 something dollars for something that people could do using Gemini or ChatGPT? And so he said he cannot be bought, so he's not willing to take that leap. But I think that was good acknowledgement on his part, understanding what's it to him. Is it worth it for him to get this brand deal or worth it to be honest and a person of integrity for the sake of his audience? My thoughts were, as an expert, I think it's great to just be resourceful and provide people with options. So I think because of what you do, it's great that you attach yourself to this brand And for the people who want to pay that $100, they will do that. For the people who cannot, they will stay with ChatGPT. But it's great that you're resourceful and you know the difference. But yeah, it was important for him to assess and evaluate, was it worth it to take the brand deal, or was it worth it to be earnest and honest for his audience? So you'll have to make those decisions as well. There's going to be people who approach you wanting you to sell out, for lack of better words, and you have to decide, is this going to cause me to lose my audience? Yes or no? And if it is, then you probably will revisit and don't do that. And I'm sure there's other opportunities out there for you. And again, why as independent podcasters, we all have control, and we can make the decision. So I love that for us.
Yeah,
Trust
I
equals,
wanted.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I wanted to jump in there and say I think that doesn't become as much of a problem when you have decided to create for alignment rather than validation, because validation is going to look for those kinds of deals to validate what it is you're doing. When you're creating from alignment, you are already your audience, you know your audience, you built your audience based on your values and on your mission, and then you start to get into what I like to call ethical sales, because we're always selling, but you don't want to feel like you're selling, and the way to avoid that is by establishing your authority in the space that you're standing in, and you don't trade authority for a check. Because as an authority, you go, hey, man, I already know that that's not something that I would want to do with my people. So that's why you would seek out certain brands. You should be making content towards that brand already if that aligns with what you want to do.
Agreed. Trust equals money. And what I mean by that, not to counter what Tango just said, it just means like when you are a person of integrity, when people see how authentic you are, when people see you show up in various different spaces and you're constantly giving away free information, at some point people will honor that and say, I trust this person so much that I'm willing to take that next leap. And now you have people who are invested not just in you, but everything you create. And that could be whether you're wearing a t-shirt, a hat, a coffee mug, people will eventually want to support you because of who you are and because you gave so much. So continue to show up consistently, build that trust, and trust breeds opportunities where people will start to invest more in you. Um, and then this is when I was talking about Coach Memory and Kizzy. Um, My thing is, I don't promise, I am not the person that can get you $1 million, right? From any of these things that I talked about. I've never made $1 million from any of the things I talked about. But what I can say is, um, it starts off small, right? And when it comes to that compounding interest, you doing things that add up, when it comes to like working with Coach Memory, we've probably known each other at this point for a good 3 years, if not more, from where we first started to where we are now. And then she constantly continued to show up and be consistent. And now she's doing her own coloring book. She's going into the schools, doing some curriculum. When it comes to Kizzy, same thing. She's already been doing things before she met this group. She already had her book. Then she came out with her reading book, by the way, Little Mac. And then she started with her coloring book, and now she's doing the cards. And so, just one thing at a time that adds up to create this bigger ecosystem. Now she can consult, now she can coach other people and other families. So, again, we're not promising you're going to be a millionaire overnight, though we wish all of that for you. Take that up with God because He got the final say. But what we can say is you start off with one thing and eventually you'll look up and you see you've built this entire ecosystem just from you taking one step at a time. So shout out to those ladies and shout out to everyone for showing up and constantly reinvesting in you. And then last thing is everybody has a podcast, but not everyone builds on an ecosystem. So just throwing things at the wall, hoping they stick is not a formula. And then again, doing everything consistently and then getting great at those things over time and constantly adding more things to the funnel is where you're going to see your success. That is all, you guys. I think we're a little over, but that is it. And I'm going to stop sharing. And any final remarks, please throw them out there. If not,
Yeah.